butcher. No, because maybe they do need a real man. I'm not gonna say a man. They need a real man in their life, because everything right now is a fraud. These dudes buy these cars. They put the rims on it. They got a car with no money, but it look good at Iguanas. And that's what a lot of these women are going for right now. So now when they get them home, baby, I need some on that light bill. I gotta pay my insurance. Now your house messed all up. You see what I'm saying? I'm speaking on, no woman will say, well, they should not say they don't need a man. The question was, do I feel a woman can do it on her own? And I strongly do.
There you go. I agree, but I disagree. I disagree. It can be done, but there's a very small percentage.
That's a lot of
But it's a percentage.
Let me just.
We can hear from a woman after Sean. Yeah, go ahead, Sean. The panel's been trying to jump on it.
Well, I think everything that should be said already was said. I just want to establish something that I believe personally, and I believe that a woman cannot affirm a man. Can she raise one? Can like the brother said, can she nurture one, or feed him, protect him, provide for him so that he grows up to be a citizen? Great. But is that citizen going to be a leader that's going to be able to father, that's going to be able to raise children? Is he going to be someone that speaks life into his youth? Is he going to be a role model to another man, or is he just going to be a citizen? I don't believe that a woman can affirm a man. A single woman would need to find a representation. She would need to find him a mentor. She would need to find him some positive example of what he should aspire to be. I don't believe it's going to happen accidentally. I don't even believe that any of us can be anything that we don't visually see. And let's just take it a step further. Barack Obama became president not because he physically saw a black president, but he saw it in his mind's eye. He had a vision of it. So if this young boy doesn't have any sort of physical vision of what it's like to be a man, or some physical representation of what that means, what is he going to be?
Me? Good luck. Because he wasn't there, and I'm here.
You saw something.
No,
There are exceptions. We have a comment right here. Yes, we can agree that there are exceptions, that there are some strong 60s born mamas that can raise a good son. Oh, he's taking his jacket off. And you know what? I'm happy that we're pausing on this topic, because this is super, super important, because it says to me, how do you raise kids as a boy child? You know, as a man, how do you raise boy children feeling like a father may or may not be that important to the household? I don't have kids, so I'm interested in hearing what everybody has to say. So now we're going to hear from a woman.
I agree with everything that I heard, and it brings me back to a girlfriend that I have. She's 40, and when her son turned 13, and she has everything more than his father has, and she sent him to be raised by his father at the age of 13 because she couldn't deal with certain things. And it also brings me to the TV show Power, which I started watching. And there's an episode where the kid goes to his dad, looking for his dad because he wants to talk to his dad. So when he goes back to his mom, she gets mad and say, "Why did you go to him? I'm here, I have everything you need." But there's some things that he couldn't tell his mom. And when she asked him why he went, he'd rather take his punishment and say, "I don't know."
That's the truth. At that, well, one last thing. I just believe at that age, and that is the age, that is the exact age, when they get to middle school, they're looking for identity. Before that, it's all good. It's going to be gravy. My mother raised me. I was raised by a single woman. I know what it's like. But a man stepped in and showed me an example of what it's like to be a man. My mother couldn't do that. No, on her best day, she couldn't do that. I had the best mom on earth, but she could not affirm the man in me. I had to find that. And right around 13, 14, boys are now starting to find out who they are. And a woman is never going to be able to affirm that.
Well,
What you mean? We got something.
Well, I'll just say real quick from a personal perspective. I was raised by my mother because my father was killed right before my 3rd birthday. So my mom didn't really have an opportunity to have a man in the house because I guess to some degree I was kind of a hindrance to that because of the age range of her during that time. My mother had me when she was 44 and I'm 42 now, so you could do the math yourself. We're not talking about a 60s baby, we're talking about a little back past that. So I do understand what this gentleman said about, you know, the women from that era and as well as Chalmers. You know, there were women who could function and do things, but for me, around the age of 11, I started really keying in on things that I saw my mother sacrificing that she would not have to sacrifice if she had another income in the house. So I could probably bet you $1 million, and you don't have to put up nothing, that my mom would never say that she didn't need a man in the house, even though she was successful in the fact that she was able to identify key people that she found, that she sought out to expose me to do what Sean said as far as the affirmation of who I wanted to be, who I wanted to become, positive role models, people who are all still in my life now in some degree or another, who helped guide me to be who I was. Because I was all messed up. I was all messed up from a lot of perspectives as it pertains to dating and this, that, and the third. But as far as what I wanted in my house, what I wanted in my home, what I wanted in my family, that didn't come from my own ideas. That came from the things that I saw that were acceptable to me, that were successful to me, that functioned in a way that I could say, oh wow, that's a nice family. You know, and that's it. To say that a woman doesn't need a man, I do think it's a mistake for the woman to think that way, and I think that she's definitely doing a detriment, except for in rare examples like Chalmers. It can happen, but I don't think if you roll a dice, you're gonna hit 7 too many times.
First of all, I want to speak as a woman who has 5 boys. I'm a single mother, and I have 5 boys. And you will never hear me say, I don't need a man. I'm single, yes, but I may not necessarily need one for myself. If I don't want a man, I could choose not to have one. But to deny that of my boys, that's a problem, because they need that image of a man in their life. You know, every topic that come up, I might be represented in all of it, because, you know, I had 4 of my boys by the time I was 21. So there's a lot of stuff that I've learned along the way. And my boys, one of the things that I made sure that they had was somebody that they could look up to. So I did not do this alone. I will tell anybody, it was 1, by the grace of God. 2, yeah, I may have paid the bills by myself. I may have gone to work and carried that burden by myself. You know, well, when I was 24, that's when, you know, I was by myself as a single mother. And I chose for a while to be that way, because I had men who approached me who were interested in me, but not necessarily in a family. So, you know, I was very protective of my boys, but my boys needed that role model. They needed men in their lives, because without that, they would not have been able to figure out, they would have not had anybody to look up to. So when these women start screaming, I don't need a man, you may not need one, or you may choose not to have one, and that's another problem, because that means somewhere along the line you're broken. And you're passing that brokenness onto your children, to your boys, because now you're saying to them that you're not enough, or you may not be enough for a woman. How can you raise a man in brokenness that way to make them, to build their self-esteem? They have to look at their mother and say, well, what is it about men that she doesn't like? What is it about men that she does not want? So when we say that as women, we have to be careful, because for those men that were raised by single mothers, I promise you, you may think that you're okay, but there is a brokenness that has manifested itself somewhere in your life. Trust me, you got issues. I don't care what anybody says. You have issues and it has manifested itself. You're going to have to look a little bit deeper, because I look at my boys and I see them and I have to recognize the brokenness that's in them. That does not mean that they're troubled boys, because my boys are stand-up men, because right now my oldest son is 24. He's in the Navy, he's up there, he has his fiance, they have their daughter, he's doing well, but he has a brokenness because he did not have that foundation in the house. You understand what I'm saying? My second son, he's married, he has a 1-year-old, he has his daughter, you know, and I thank God because I was able to teach them some things and say, hey, I may have had my boys, because I have 5 boys, 4 fathers. I had to teach my sons, you have the power not to recreate that. You have the power not to recreate that. Because my parents didn't teach me. Mama was gone by the time I was 16. Daddy was gone at 11. So I had to teach them, you have the power not to recreate that. But there was a brokenness that I had to accept, that I passed on to them because I was broken. And so when we start saying these things, you don't need a man, you don't need a woman, we need each other. God put man and woman here for children. And how can we get to the place when we create these children, we tell God we only need one of us? That's a lie. The devil in hell is a lie. I'm sorry. If God thought that men and women needed to be together to create children, we can't tell God, no, I don't need a man. You needed one to create them, you're going to need one to raise them.